Assalamualaikum and hi. So we'll continue with example 13 from chapter 4. So what we have here is three blocks are in contact with each other on frictionless horizontal surface as shown in the figure. A horizontal force F is applied to M1. Okay, given M1 is 3.5 kg, M2 4 kg and M3 5 kg. And the force F is equals to 30 Newton. Calculate A, the acceleration of the system, and B, the magnitude of the contact force between block M1 and M2. So if you notice, example 13 has the similar object for the, as in our example 4 from the notes, okay? Cuma, for example 4 dia suruh lukis FPD sahaja. So dekat sini kita nak start kira the acceleration and also the magnitude of the contact force between M1 and M2. So, first we are going to look at the acceleration of the system. Okay, dia cakap acceleration of the system. Alright, as you can see, your object M1, M2 and M3, they are in contact with each other. Okay, mereka bersentuhan. Alright, so when you apply a force on M1, kalau kamu tolak M1 ini, alright, this M1 is going to move. Alright, tapi bila dia bergerak, dia tidak hanya bergerak bersendirian. It is going to push M2 and causes M2 to move. It's going to push M3 and causes M3 to move. Alright, pergerakan M1, M2 dan M3 ini adalah as a system. So mereka bertiga-tiga, since they are in contact, and the motion of one object is going to lead to the motion of the other object and lead to another object to move, kita panggil dia a system. Okay, so whatever acceleration that your object M1 is going to move with, the object M2 and M3 are going to have the same acceleration sebab mereka adalah satu sistem yang sama. Okay, so according to Newton's law, summation F is equals to MA. So total force should equals to MA. Alright. So kalau kita tengok, what are the forces that is going to cause this object to move to the right, which is the applied force F ini. Alright. Force yang kamu tolak ini akan menyebabkan ketiga-tiga objek ini bergerak ke kanan dengan acceleration A. So objektif kita adalah nak cari acceleration A. So kita akan tengok ini sebagai satu sistem juga. We are not going to split them into three object. We are going to look at it as a system here. So the only force that is going to cause the motion here adalah this applied force. So the total force kita dekat sini adalah 30 Newton, which is the F here. Ataupun kita tulis dulu lah, is the external force. Sama dengan mass. Because they are one system, mass dekat sini adalah total mass. M total darab dengan acceleration where all this system is going to move together. So F is equals to total mass kita adalah summation of M1, M2 and M3 because they are going to move as a system. Alright, so dia adalah sekarang seolah-olah ini adalah satu objek. Alright, okay, so dia akan ada acceleration here. Okay, so the total force here is 30 Newton. It's equals to 3.5 plus 4 plus 5 A. So, tekan calculator, 3.5 plus 4 plus 5, you're going to get 12.5. Mass dia adalah kg A. So, your acceleration here becomes 30 divided 12.5, you get 2.4 ms negative 2. So, all this object is going to move with the acceleration of 2.4 ke kanan as you apply 30 Newton on this object. Okay, so next is to find the magnitude of contact force between block M1 and M2. So, kita nak tengok pada objek kita M1 dan M2. So, I'm going to redraw my M1 and M2 here. This is my M1 and M2. Dia cakap contact force between M1 dan M2 iaitu this particular point here. At this particular point, they are in contact with each other. So, we are going to find the magnitude of the contact force. Okay, apa magnitude contact force dekat ni? So, bila mereka bersentuhan dekat sini, they are going to exert normal on each other. M1 is going to exert normal. N1 on object 2, and begitu juga this, saya guna pen merah kejap N1 on 2, begitu juga this object 2 is going to exert normal on 1 here. Alright, this N12 is equals to N21 in terms of magnitude. So soalan tanya, apa nilai force yang exerted on each other, which is the contact force between M1 and M2 sini. So for that, we're going to choose salah satu objek. Kita pilih salah satu objek, tengok can be solved. Kalau tak boleh, kita guna dua-dua objek lah. So look at M1 first. So let us start with free body diagram here. We are going to experience weight. Yes, kita akan ada weight dekat sini. Sentiasa ada weight W1 sebab kita ada lebih daripada satu objek. So you're going to use the subscript to identify ataupun to indicate this force is acting on which object. Alright, next, sebab objek satu kita berada pada permukaan, dia akan ada normal force ke atas. So we're going to experience N1 here. And then as you can see in the question, dia cakap ada force F is exerted on M1. So kita akan ada force ke kanan F acting on M1. And then at the same time, this object M2 is exerting a normal force, which is the contact force between M1 dan M2, which is sebanyak N21. So sekarang kita nak cari kawan ni. Alright, so since we have forces along X and Y axis, we have to solve them along X and Y, summation Fx dengan summation Fy. Alright, so if you look at summation along X components ini, you have forces of F dan juga N21. Dan kalau along Y, kita ada N1 dan juga W1. Alright, these total forces should equals to what? So kalau kita tengok, this object is going to move with an acceleration of 2.4 meter to the right. Okay, to the right adalah along X axis. So maksudnya kita ada acceleration along X axis. Okay, since kita ada acceleration along X axis, the total force along X should equals to MA. Whereas along Y, objek kita tak ada pergerakan. Objek kita tak naik turun, naik turun, naik turun. So tak ada pergerakan along Y axis. So the total force along Y should equals to 0. Alright, since force yang kita nak cari berada pada paksi X, so I'm going to focus on summation Fx dekat sini. So summation Fx is equals to MA. The total force along X axis adalah F dan juga N21. Ada dua force sahaja. So we are going to sum them. So when you're going to sum, F ke kanan positif campur dengan N21 ke kiri negatif. So you must consider the direction. Remember F adalah vector quantity. So kena consider direction dia. Should equals to mass times acceleration. Okay, mass kita dekat sini adalah, this is the free body diagram ataupun we are only talking about forces acting on object 1 sahaja. So the mass here should be belongs to object 1 sahaja, which is 3.5. Ini kena jadi mass of object 1 sahaja. Darat dengan acceleration sama, acceleration yang sama. All these three object is going to move with the same acceleration, which is 2.4. Alright, so we're going to substitute all the value that we know. F here adalah 30 minus N21 is equals to 3.5 times 2.4. Kita dapat 8.4 dekat sini. So rearrange 30 minus 8.4 is equals to N21. So 30 tolak, you are going to get N21 sebanyak 21.6 Newton. So kita dah dapat jawapan. Inilah the contact force between object 1 and object 2. Okay, the forces here.